What's going on, everybody? It's Pappy from Spiderweb Reviews, and I am here with a TV episode review. This is still continuing on with the show 12 Monkeys, season 1, and this is episode 8, which is titled Yesterday. The story for this episode is that Cole is stuck in Chechnya while Jones is working on bringing him back. Uh, Back in 2043, there's some unforeseen issues with the time machine that Jones and Ramsey and another character need to figure out how to fix. So they ultimately end up um, talking with an old friend that Jones knew to get their machine fixed. And then in relation to Cassandra and her story with Aaron, she is planning on traveling to Chechnya to the site where Cole was to just figure out that to find out that he's not there anymore, which would prove that um, what he did worked and stopped the plague. So that's ultimately what this episode is about. Um, to get into my review, I gave this episode 5.5 legs out of 8. I was not feeling this episode very much. It was a letdown compared to what we've seen so far in this season. So be prepared for that as you're going through and watching it. Obviously, it's important to get the story elements of this episode and to know what's going on. But to me, it was just a disappointment. Um, for starters, for the character development, I gave it 1.5 legs out of 2, and I did that because of the new character that we get introduced to. That was Jones's old friend that she used to work with, and I feel like his character wasn't um, introduced very well. He is um, working on his own cure for the virus, and he's got a whole bunch of other things going on, and I just thought that it was just, I don't know, not clarified very well on exactly what he was doing at times, and then his relationship with Jones as well. I felt like there was some confusion there. So just overall, his character could have been introduced better for what you see in this episode. For the story, I only gave this 1 leg out of 2. Ultimately, I did that because there is a lot of dialogue in this episode. There's very little action going on. It's just people going to talk with other people and then other people talking with people, and it was just kind of dull. It kind of was hard to pay attention to it sometimes because of that. Um, Most of this episode takes place in 2043. You go back in time a little bit to see what Cole's doing and what Cassandra's doing, but it's very small. Practically, like I said, practically everything is in 2043, and it's all dialogue driven. It's just everybody talking to everybody, and I feel like some of the story elements that were talked about in this episode too weren't developed very well, and I feel like ultimately they will have no effect on the story. They were just talking points for this episode that we probably won't hear again, especially when it came to some of Foster's history as well as Jones's history. So I thought that was a letdown. For the plot twist, I gave it half a leg. It's pretty predictable, kind of what's going to happen in this episode. With all the dialogue going on and what Foster ends up doing, it just seemed like it was obvious what he was going to do. So that's why I got half a leg taken off for that. And then I also gave half a leg off for the villain as well, because there really isn't a villain in this episode. I mean, maybe Foster kind of is. I don't know. It's kind of, I guess it's up to you for you to decide. I think we still need to see more about what's going to happen next. The ending was good though, so I did enjoy where this ultimately this episode ended. So that was done well, and I'm excited to see the next one. But like I said, this episode just kind of missed the ball for me. So In total, it got 5.5 legs out of 8, so not the strongest effort, but for the sake of keeping up with the story, it's worth watching and learning what happens. So, with that being said, that's all I have for this episode and this review. So stay tuned for more as they're released. Thank you.